And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here. More of your phone calls next. Before that, our great friend Brian Maloney joining us from the Media Equalizer. MediaEqualizer.com has been holding the folks accountable for quite some time. Brian, good morning.
Well, good morning, and boy, do we have our work cut out for us today. Wow, the news cycle has gone insane.
Boy, just when you couldn't get it any bigger, what do you make of CNN actually using the word S-hole on all their coverage? And, well, I'll just leave it from that. I guess we'll just go from there. And, of course...
Well, that's it. I wouldn't even know where to start today. I'm so angry about what's going on with the news networks right now. I wouldn't know where to begin. And, by the way, we're fighting all of this hard on our Facebook group called Stop the Scalpings with 108,000 members. And really I think what we're trying to prevent today is the scalping of the president, because this is really out of control. First of all, let's start with the language the networks are using. So suddenly that word is okay to plaster on all the screens. But then, the whole talk from the left is, I can't believe we have to explain to our children now about that word because of the president. Well, we have to explain that to our children, that word, because you plastered it on the chyrons, on every cable channel. So for some reason you decided that was okay to say now. So that was their call. That was MSNBC, CNN, the online, the newspapers. And they did this. So I don't know what that's about. I think it's just about to make the president look as bad as possible. But number two, the issue is, did Trump actually even say it? So this is where conservatives keep failing here. What we're doing is we keep accepting the left's premise. So it's, so we're accepting when the Washington Post says Trump, said, I'm not going to use, I almost use, believe me, I did radio long enough to know not to do that to you. But, so the Washington Post asserts this, and then everyone accepts that it happened, and then we all have to debate whether the president's crazy or not. And the bottom line is, look at this. So this is what's going on this morning, okay? So it turns out that, CNN reports that the Washington Post only had one unnamed source. So then the Washington Post comes out with their coverage this morning, and they're saying that their sources are not only unnamed, but people who were briefed on the meeting, who weren't even in the meeting, who were secondhand sources. So this entire story is coming from unnamed secondhand sources. So the president is absolutely being just taken, he's being railroaded. It's disgusting.
Brian Maloney joining us, KIDO Talk Radio from the Media Equalizer, MediaEqualizer.com. Here's the thing that is very troubling about this is that, journalism is dead, Brian, and you report this all the time, but it's agenda journalism. We had the president the other day having this speech. It was open. It was transparent. CNN praised him. Fox News praised him. And yet MSNBC said he had one slip up, so he's a kook, he's crazy, and we've got to use the 25th Amendment to get him out. And that was from Steve Schmidt and Nicole Wallace, Republicans.
Right, exactly. Well, the problem is it's not just the left that is undertaking this effort to remove the president. It's the Never Trumpers, Romney, Bush wing of the liberal wing of the Republican Party. And I don't know why they bother to remain Republicans, but whatever. The establishment group, who support the deep state, et cetera. And they're probably working harder than the left is. So Mitt Romney can't wait to become a U.S. Senator so that he can sit there and trash Trump every minute of the day. And the bottom line is I haven't always agreed with everything that Trump has done or said, but I do have, as an American, I think any American has instilled in us, a fundamental sense of fairness, of right and wrong. And when I feel like someone is being attacked unfairly, even if it's a political opponent, which I would never characterize the president as, but even if someone on the other side I thought was being attacked unfairly, I would stand up for that person. It's about fairness. And what's going on today is a hijacking of the presidency by a rabid media and by his foes. But I would watch those Never Trumpers much more closely than I would the left. They're the ones I trust the least. They are the shadiest group I've ever encountered in politics, and that's saying something.
So where do we go from here? How long does this story last, and what's the fallout?
Well, we see nowadays that no stories really ever last very long, no matter what they are anymore. But bottom line here is, though, they are slowly building the case, or more quickly today, that Trump has to be removed from office. So they can, it doesn't matter whether Trump said these things or not anymore. They're building a fake case. So, so what we do is we fight back hard, and that's exactly what we're organizing at Stop the Scalpings this morning. We're getting everyone fired up on Facebook and at our website, MediaEqualizer.com. But the other question here that we have to ask is, let's say Trump did say that. Would it be a fair characterization of a country like Haiti to use a term like that? And it's funny because I live in an area where we have Haitian Americans. We have them around here, and I've talked to a lot of them over the years. And people in Haiti will not let Haitian Americans back into the country to start businesses and get into politics and build country. They see them as traitors. They see them as having abandoned the country. So they can never bring their expertise back. They love they love when the Haitian Americans send their money back to Haiti, but they don't want any help. So, is that fair criticism when you have that? And the other thing here is, who did more to damage Haiti? Trump and what he allegedly said maybe didn't, or the Clintons who looted Haiti for 20 years and got away with it.
Exactly. Brian, if people want to be a part of this, what can they do?
Well, we want you to join our Facebook group, which is Stop the Scalpings. One word, Stop the Scalpings. And some of your listeners did join the last time I was on, and I appreciate that so much. We'd like to have everybody join this group. We have 108,000 people so far. We need 10 million, I think, to really have a chance of what we're up against this morning. So I hope everyone will go there to Stop the Scalpings, and also MediaEqualizer.com. I hope you're as fired up as I am today. This morning, I am downright angry. I'm seeing red. I hope other people are as well.
We are, Brian. The West Coast misses you.
Thank you. So I've got a real fight back here, let me tell you.
Yeah, good luck with those folks in Massachusetts, yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Brian. You have a great day. Brian Maloney joining us. Back to your calls. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. We'll go to Linda in a minute. First, Steve has been very patient. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Hey, how are you doing, Kevin?
Well, not bad. A very lively program today.
Yes, and, I wanted to call in about suicide because, we always talk about suicide and suicide prevention, and sometimes that there's another side of it that we have to look at. And I'm currently going to school because I want to get into the medical profession. And I wanted to bring up the fact that sometimes when it comes to suicide, we also need to think about compassionate care and, the people that want to die with dignity so they don't waste away and, become vegetables, so they can have good memories with their families versus, the negative with their family, through the dying process.
Well, I think sometimes people just get overwhelmed, Steve, and they feel there's no way out.
Well, and I agree with you on that. But, I know that there's states around us like Washington and Oregon and stuff. And, when, you have a terminal patient or somebody that's going to die and you watch them go from, being a happy, spry person to wasting away to nothing, I think sometimes, we as humans tend to look at quantity of life versus quality of life. And that's, one thing I did want to bring up in the suicide thing. I'm against suicide, except for, when it comes to, having a family, have dignity, in a person's last moments, so they can be with their families and so they can be with, everybody around them and have the final memories be good instead of, something like you hear with, Brandon Hickson.
Steve, we appreciate your call and your insight on KIDO Talk Radio.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
All right. Linda in Boise, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Good morning, Kevin. I am loving your program today. I listen every day, but I really enjoy it today.
Thank you.
Yes. I loved Frank King. He was so spot on talking about suicide prevention. And it just reminded me that I wanted to call in and remind everybody that if they need somebody to talk to, they can call the suicide prevention hotline. You know, even the families and friends, if they have concerns or questions, but you can call them, talk to them confidentially, because sometimes people don't like to reach out to their family and friends. So, and the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-TALK, which is 8255. And thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.
Hey, you as well, Linda. God bless.
And God bless you. Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Lori in Boise with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lori.
Hello, Kevin, and Happy New Year, and thank you for your great service. Really enjoy what you do.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on responses by the president, and I feel like if he could get the mentality of, he pushes back, but if he could push back and blame his enemies for what their goals are, what their intent is, that they want to enlarge the government, oppress the people, and that's what they want. And every time he can incorporate that, that would be good. And in this case, if he could respond by saying, I'm not against Haitians, I'm not against the people of Africa, but their countries are corrupt. They do not have the ideas of liberty that this country does, of individual freedom, and that we are really children of God, and we have the ability to do everything to raise ourselves. Those countries, because they have corruption, they've caused their country to go downhill, and that's what you people want. You want to turn our country into something that's more like that, with government oppression and corruption. Just turn it back on them. But it's not against the people; it's against the country, the form of government they have that's deficient. So that's my take.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. More of your calls and comments concerning President Trump. Tucker Carlson defends him. We'll defend him, and we continue on. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning here. More of your phone calls next. The libs going after President Trump again and again and again, saying his comments were out of line concerning the countries of Haiti and El Salvador, and we should bring in more people from the countries like Norway. By the way, if you get a chance, you can go to my personal Facebook page, actually the Kevin Miller Show. There's a great article there from Breitbart on how Ted Kennedy in 1965, Ted Kennedy in 1965 just totally reprogrammed the ethnicity of the country. And Kennedy, even back then, was saying that we wouldn't be overrun with immigrants. By the way, 82% of the Americans being born will be foreign born. By the way, here's a blast from the past before we get to more of your phone calls.
I think we can enforce our borders. I think we should enforce our borders. To have a situation where 40% of the babies born on Medicaid in California today are born of illegal immigrants creates a very real problem for the state, which is in deficit.
Look, of course you can enforce the borders.
Let me finish.
I agree.
To have 17% of our prison population at a cost of $300 million a year be illegal immigrants who come here and commit felonies. That's not what this nation is all about.
That was Dianne Feinstein in 1994. Liberty Linda, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. You know, I really liked what our good friend Steve Ackerman said this morning. You know, it was very uplifting, as he always is. And then I would like to say something about our beloved prophet, President Monson. You know, ever since I joined my church, he was very special to me. His inspirational, uplifting talks always touch my heart. And I know that I will truly miss him. He was a very special person. And then as far as someone who would even think about suicide, every person's life has worth. If a person that even thinks about it, they should wait a minute and let that thought pass. And because you never know what you or a person is supposed to do on this earth. We have special callings given to each one of us. And there may be just something very special that person has to give on this earth. So that's what I would say. Wait a minute, let it pass, and think about all the positives that you have in your life.
And to pray.
Always.
And
always.
God will be
always.
there for you. God is there for you.
That's right. For every single person on this earth, and every single person has worth and is very special. So that's what I believe, and thank you very much for having this show today, Kevin. You always touch our hearts.
Well, I'm blessed to be with you each and every day, Liberty Linda.
Well, you as well. We love you very much, and we sincerely mean that when we say it. You are very special to us here.
And you are loved as well.
Okay, and so you have an absolutely wonderful day, and thank you for your show again today.
You take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Traffic and weather together. And we go back to the phones. Let's go to Sonny. Sonny, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right, and you?
I'm good. I'm a first-time caller to any radio station for that matter, but I really felt prompted to give you a call. And just recently, I've gone through a really dark period in my own personal life, and I understand that feeling of hopelessness, and I just felt trapped and like there was no way out. And I contemplated for a brief second, but I realized I have three daughters and a wife, and I realized at that moment I may be free from my pain, but I'm passing that pain on to my children, and I'm not escaping that. And the other thing that went through my head was, if I don't want my life anymore, why don't you give it to someone who does? And that was Jesus, and that's what I did. And I surrendered, and I'll tell you what, have more joy in my life than I've ever had, and I have so much more freedom in my life than I've ever had. And I felt like someone out there listening today, I just needed to hear that message. And I just want everyone to know that Jesus does love you, and you were knit in your mother's womb before the foundations of this world. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you are valued, you are loved, you serve a purpose, you were created for a purpose. So if you don't want your life anymore, give it to someone who does, and that is God. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, Sonny, don't be a stranger, and whether it's 107.5 FM or 580 AM, we appreciate you tuning in and taking part. And if you could, just repeat that message one more time about God and Jesus loving us.
Yeah, Jesus. The whole thing is just knowing who you are in Christ. I mean, once I realized I can't do this on my own power, and I surrendered to God, I realized I was fearfully and wonderfully made. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I was created in my mother's womb before the foundations of this world, and I'm not going to let anyone in this world take something from me that they didn't give to me, and that is how much Jesus loves me. He died on the cross for me, and he wants me. He desires me. And, I just want to encourage you, if you're at that point where you just feel hopeless, you feel like there's no way out, and you're contemplating that, what harm is it going to do to give your life to someone who wants it? And that's Jesus. Surrender, give it to him, and you will find joy, and you will find peace, and you will find purpose.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonny. God bless.
All right, God bless you all. Thank you.
More of your calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Got to tell you, I think Jim Duthie does an outstanding job, but when Larry Gebbert's on your mind, Larry Gebbert is on your mind. Larry will be back Tuesday, but Jim doing a great job. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, we will hear from Dorothy in Star, Jim in Star, concerning the topic of suicide, which we've been talking about. Also getting back to the president's comments that he did or didn't say concerning these countries of El Salvador, of Haiti. According to an unsubstantiated report by one person that has been picked up by everyone. Now it's in dispute whether or not the president actually called those countries S-holes. By the way, we'll take your calls on that as well. But first, let's go to Evan Brown, who has some disturbing news if you might be heading to Mexico. Evan, good morning.
Good morning.
So it looks like there are a few places where our country does not want you to travel if you're going to Mexico.
Well, yes, 5 of the 31 Mexican states have now been listed as level 4 risk zones by the U.S. State Department. That is essentially what we label places like Syria to be, meaning that your safety is for sure not assured, and you really shouldn't go there. This would include Tamaulipas, which is the Mexican state that borders South Texas. So if you live in places like Brownsville or McAllen, you are just a stone's throw away from that. And one of the other states is Guerrero, which is in the southwest of Mexico, and that includes the city of Acapulco, which is such a famous vacation spot. But it is now considered by our State Department to be way too dangerous for you to go. And this is due to wars between drug cartels and the ongoing battle between the cartels and Mexican authorities. But it is vastly unsafe. And furthermore, I think another 11 of those states were listed as level 3 risks, one down from level 4, in which the State Department says, you really shouldn't be going there. We're not going to tell you don't go, but we would suggest that you don't. And if you have plans to go there, we'd ask you to reconsider.
And have we heard from the Mexicans yet?
I don't believe so. I think they'd be hard-pressed to really say otherwise. These designations are made based on real information from the ground with regard to violence and crime, and to say that it would be wrong for the U.S. government to make these distinctions, they'd have to argue that the record is different than what's been used. So I think the Mexican government would have a hard time making that argument. They probably aren't happy about it. When the U.S. State Department says a certain part of your country is not a good place to go visit, it has far-reaching impacts. And Mexico certainly relies on tourism, as part of its economic makeup. So I'm sure they're not thrilled with it.
So no Acapulco.
The U.S. State Department is saying you should not go there. Yeah.
Evan, we appreciate you. Thank you.
You got it.
All right. Evan Brown joining us from Fox News. Remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio in the Treasure Valley. Back to the phones. We go to Jim in Star with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. Good to talk with you. I'm very new in the area. I'm actually from California and served as a pastor for 32 years in California. And it was my privilege to testify against the assisted suicide bill in California when it first came up in February of 2015.
Well, first of all, welcome to America, Jim.
And, thank you. You mean you're welcoming me out of the People's Republic of California?
Exactly, and Star is a beautiful place to live. So I'm glad you're here.
It is. Where I'm very happy here. Very happy here with my wife and baby. It's amazing to be here. In any case, I am not a medical expert. What I testified about was my personal experience of dealing with people who felt that their lives had come to an end and they just wanted to quicken it. And I can tell you that studies have been done that show that there's not a single instance of a person who attempted suicide and did not succeed wishing that they had. They always reconsider when they have an actual opportunity to reconsider. It doesn't matter what their condition is. The other thing that was testified was that by medical experts was that palliative care has now come to the point where there's simply no way that somebody is going to be in intractable pain that can only be ended by their death. It is possible to relieve that pain no matter what their condition. Now, again, I say that not as a medical expert, but this testimony was given when I was in the process of testifying. The other thing that I'd like to share with you was that the big poster girl, if you will, for assisted suicide at that time was a young lady named Brittany, and I do not recall her surname. However, she had a disease called glioblastoma, which is a kind of cancer, and there was no treatment for it. And that was the rationale. We had to do this for Brittany, pass this assisted suicide bill. Within 3 months of her death, actually it was about 6 weeks of her death, a cure was discovered. And she would not even have been in serious pain at that point had her life continued. The other thing that I want your listeners to know is that just prior to her, there was a big social media blitz about Brittany. She'd gone to Oregon where she could commit suicide, with medical assistance. And she changed her mind and said she did not want to die. And she made a big public announcement about this. And a few days later, there was simply a post put up on Facebook that Brittany was back on board, back on her time limit. And it was rumored, and I don't have evidence of this, I'm not saying I can prove it, but it was rumored that she was actually murdered in order to promote the campaign. And what I'm trying to say to you and to your listeners is that, I am not in any way impugning the man who called in and asked for compassionate care. I'm sure he's sincere in his beliefs. I think he's very much mistaken and misguided, because the leaders of this, the Hemlock Society and so forth, are incredibly unscrupulous. And as wild and crazy as it must sound, they want to promote death. That's the only conclusion you can draw from their behavior. And of course, in every country that has legalized assisted suicide so far, there have been Holland, which is one of the Netherlands, is one of the first. And there are abuses. People are being put, quote unquote, put out of their misery without their consent. It follows as night follows day. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. God bless you.
God bless you, Jim. Hopefully I'll see you around the Merc.
I will look forward to that. God bless you.
God bless you. Okay, Jim and Star. We have got another Jim and Star. Let's go to Dorothy and Star with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dorothy.
Well, good morning, Kevin. This is a difficult subject, but an important subject. I would say that, I'm calling in on suicide, regarding suicide. A few months ago, a family member, my nephew, took his life in the most horrific way. There is no good, bad way. I mean, it's all awful. And we have another family member and another friend that are in a very deep, dark place. And when they withdraw and don't want to speak, don't want to address it, it's very, very difficult. It leaves me with a very hopeless feeling when you want to reach out to someone and you cannot do that. What I would say, Kevin, is that on a spiritual plane, God knows He has a blueprint for our life, and He knows the day that you're born and the day that you're going to go home to Him. And taking your life in the middle of that path is not part of His plan. And even for those that are suffering in the deepest, darkest places of their lives, they have no idea the deep, dark places of those that are left behind. And the tentacles of that pain and suffering are far-reaching. And on a spiritual plane, I know the family will forever wrestle with the spirituality of this place, and we cannot know the mind of the person when they take their life, and it's between them and God. But raised with our faith, we have feelings that we will wrestle with forever. So I would just say to those that are in those dark places to look into the eyes of your loved ones and the ones that are trying to reach out to you, and the eyes are the window of the soul. And just know that the love is there, and to try and accept the help, at least from one person who reaches out to you, and to know that there is hope, and we know that there is hope. So I just wanted to make those comments to you and to your listeners. And I'm sorry. It's just a difficult time. And so thank you, Kevin, for the opportunity to just speak and let my feelings be out there for one person if they need to hear. God bless you and for all that you do. Thank you, Kevin.
God bless you, Dorothy. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
You know, that's the overwhelming message today, and this has been a show unlike any other that I've ever been a part of. You know, on one hand, we have the comments that may or may not have been made by the president, and then we have something that no other show in America would cover, this topic of suicide and people urging folks to love themselves, to love God, to go to Christ, and to know that that's not the answer. You're all very amazing. Leland, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Leland.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you today?
Just simply, words can't describe. And you?
Yeah, I'm about the same. I actually, Johnny come lately into this conversation, but felt compelled that as soon as I heard the topic of discussion. I work in long-term care, and I know that one of the arguments for the quality of life is people who end up in long-term care and their mind starts to go. But I would argue as I work with these people that they still bring so much joy and so much value to people, the lives around them, and that their life isn't just futile. It's even as their body fades. I see their family sometimes come, and even those that their family doesn't come to visit anymore, there's the caregivers around them that they bring joy to, and sometimes the other residents, there's just a real life there. And I just want further encouragement that even on that end, that there's no reason to just give up on life. And that, again, I would echo what so many others have said, that God works all things together. And this is part of that. And so it's wrong to take that into our own hands and say, okay, it's time to cut that off. So that's my 2 cents, Kevin. God bless you. You have a good day.
God bless you. Thank you, Leland. Take care. Pro-Life, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah, it's so nice that all these new people are calling in, different people, and we need more of that. And it's nice that you're taking so many calls. But anyway, I just want to say one thing about President Trump saying what he did. He kind of should have said, we're interested in getting people with good morals, Christian values, family life kind of people into the United States. It doesn't matter where they're from. And that character is actually more important than skills. He didn't say anything like that, and I hope he clarifies it and says something like that. And I'd like to say something that the media, when they disparage him like that intentionally and say if they're lying about what he actually said, then they need to be brought to justice. There needs to be laws against libel, and you can't say because he's a public figure that he can't be libeled. Our culture is allowing that, but we shouldn't do it. And any nation, any state that will say that assisted suicide is all right and promotes assisted suicide, legalizes it, that's a pretty sick state. And, I'm just 20 miles from Oregon over here, and they're a pretty sick state. So anyway, life is precious. The little babies that are born, they get murdered before they get out of the womb. They go back, and I'm sure they're complaining, saying, hey, we tried to be born, but we got murdered. And abortion is murder, and suicide is self-murder. We can't do that either. So we have to respect life in every way. So anyway, I hope you get some more callers, and I'll just hang up. And thanks for being there.
I'm here as long as you'll have me, Pro-Life. God bless.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. That is the truth. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, Tucker Carlson defends the president, and we'll talk more about suicide and your thoughts next with me, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And coming up, our friend Tucker Carlson will defend the president and get more of your thoughts on that, also talking about preventing suicide today. Too much truth. Thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. 2 callers. You've had a lot of great callers this morning, but a couple of them I like particularly. Pro-life. What I like about that guy is he just speaks voluminous truth. He just uses the word, just like the president does. He just uses the truth. And I like it when people hear that. That's great. It takes them out of their comfort zone. And the other guy who called and said, if you don't want your life anymore, give it to somebody who does want it. And I want to tell anybody out there, if you've gotten to so much despair that you don't want your life anymore, yeah, you can give it to an imaginary superstition if you want to, fine, whatever you like. But you could give it to freedom. You could give it to the fight for freedom. There's almost nobody fighting for it. So you could shave and shower and get a nice collar shirt and start walking into senators and congressmen's office and saying, this isn't right, this isn't authorized by the Constitution, You could really pick a fight. Don't throw your life away. It's so valuable. Please think about it.
Couldn't have said it better. Too much truth.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. God bless. Traffic and weather together. I apologize. I still can't get Larry Gebhardt out of my mind. Jim, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Kevin, good morning. Great show as always. Hey, on the Trump issue, my comments back on that would be we have a past administration that looks like they weaponized our intelligence agencies to take down an election, and we're worried about a comment the president made. Second point, the president made a comment, and it's really not about the people who are immigrating from those countries. It's what goes on in those countries. People are immigrating out of these socialist communist regimes to come to the freest country in the world for a reason. And we need to start directing our attention back at why are these people coming out of those countries? I think it's a crying shame. I've spoken to some of these people. They love their countries. They'd love to be in their countries. It's how they get treated in their countries and the entire lack of opportunities. So the president has brought forward a really, really good point, whether he said the comment or not. I hope it's almost true, if it's not true. Second, and the last point on the issue of suicide, for those people who are thinking about that, do me a favor. Go find a purpose in your life. When you have a purpose and you have meaning in your life, you have direction. And you define yourself, and you don't let the world around you define you. That's all I really got to say, Kevin.
Thank you, Jim. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Jim from Cottonwood, Idaho. Now Tucker Carlson.
As you doubtless heard during immigration talks, President Trump said something that almost every single person in America actually agrees with. An awful lot of immigrants come to this country from other places that aren't very nice. Those places are dangerous, they're dirty, they're corrupt, and they're poor. And that's the main reason those immigrants are trying to come here, and you would too if you live there. President Trump asked why America doesn't receive more immigrants from places you might want to visit on vacation. Why aren't we getting more people from Norway, he said, which by almost any measure, including the UN's measures, is the most developed and richest country in the world. Well, saying this, Trump used an expletive, and that's not surprising either, since he uses them all the time and was speaking privately. And yet, for some reason, virtually everyone in Washington, New York, and L.A. considered this a major, major event. Why is that? To find out, we're joined by Jose Parra. He was Latino Communications Director for Barack Obama's 2012 campaign, and he joins us in the studio. Jose, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for the opportunity, Tom.
So I think of course you can have a debate over what countries we ought to admit immigrants from, and I think we're kind of having that debate. But what bothers me about the explosion this afternoon is the dishonesty in it. And I'll just give you one example. Joan Walsh over on CNN, an analyst over there, was asked just a minute ago, would you rather live in Haiti or Norway? And she said with a straight face, I can't say.
There we have it. There we have it. What's wrong with that? And again, let's get back to the authenticity of this report. The president said, look, I didn't say those things. One person from one media outlet said it, and there we have this whole thing that is blown up into something. Again, what this is a coup against the president of the United States. The libs can't beat him with the budget, so they certainly can't beat him with the economy. They can't beat him with the military, so we have these things. And I suppose Donald Trump should learn that not a lot of things are off the record.
In the course of his comments, said things which were hate-filled, vile, and racist. I use those words advisedly. I understand how powerful they are. But I cannot believe that in the history of the White House, in that Oval Office, any president has ever spoken the words that I personally heard our president speak yesterday. You've seen the comments in the press. I have not read one of them that's inaccurate.
And there we have it at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller with you here as we move along. And Dick Durbin apparently has never heard that word before. That's one issue. Now on a more important issue here, as we close out the week, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your kind thoughts to all the people that are struggling. We've all been there. We're all probably still there. And, I can't speak as eloquently as you have from your heart, our friends, Jim and Star, Dorothy and Star, who have shared real life experiences. Radio is our best friend. Radio has been my companion for soon to be 50 years. I've dedicated all that I have and am to this great format, this great forum. And it's always been there for me. And it's not just a person, but it's the people. So from me to you, get some help, reach out, get involved, and pray. God bless you.